The snow fell in jagged sheets, biting at Clara's cheeks as she stood frozen outside the pawnshop, her fist clenched around the last shred of her old life. The wedding ring burned in her palm, its platinum band engraved with words she'd once believed, "Forever yours." Now, it was just metal. Metal she'd trade for groceries, for heat, for another week of keeping the lights on for her children. "Mama?" A small voice tugged at her coat. Liam, her 6-year-old, stared up with eyes too wide for his gaunt face. His sister, Ellie, clung to his hand, her mittens frayed and damp. "Can we get soup tonight?" Clara swallowed the knot in her throat. "Soon, baby," she whispered, brushing snow from his brow. "Wait here." The bell above the pawnshop door gingled like a taunt as she stepped inside. Dust motes swam in the stale air, and the smell of mildew clung to towers of forgotten guitars, cracked televisions, and jewelry cases smudged with fingerprints. Behind the counter, a man with a grizzled beard and a name tag reading Mr. Donovan glanced up, his gaze lingering on her trembling hand. "What you got?" he grunted. She uncurled her fingers, the ring catching the dim light. It's real platinum. With a diamond." Her voice cracked. "Half a carat." Mr. Donovan lifted a jeweler's loop, his brow furrowing as he inspected the band. For a heartbeat, his stern expression flickered, a twitch of recognition, before he set it down. "I'll give you 300. Clara's stomach dropped. That's not enough." The appraisal said. "Appraisals don't pay the bills," he interrupted, nodding toward the frost-fogged window where her children huddled. "But fine. 400. Final offer." She closed her eyes, the memory rushing in. James slipping the ring onto her finger in a sunlit meadow, his laughter warm as he vowed, "No matter what happens, this is a promise. To fight for us." Then, the crash. The hospital bills. The night he walked out, claiming he'd find a way to fix it all, and never returned. "Deal," Clara choked out. Mr. Donovan counted the cash, then paused, adding an extra 50. "For the kids," he muttered, avoiding her gaze. Outside, she stuffed the money deep into her coat, guilt and relief warring in her chest. The ring was gone, but the ghost of it still weighed on her finger. "We'll be okay," she told Liam and Ellie, forcing a smile as she led them toward the grocery store. They didn't need to know the rice and beans would stretch only 7 days. Or that the eviction notice was still tucked in her drawer, unanswered. That night, as the children slept, Clara unfolded James's final note, the paper soft from years of rereading. "Clara, I can't watch you starve because of me. I'll find a way to make this right. Forgive me. James." She traced his handwriting, wondering if he was alive, if he'd ever known about the twins' birth. Wondering if he'd care. Across town, Mr. Donovan locked up his shop, the wedding ring gleaming in his pocket. He hadn't told Clara the truth, he'd seen this ring before. Years ago, a man with desperate eyes and a split lip had tried to sell it, claiming it was his wife's, stolen, he'd said, after the accident. But the man had vanished before the police arrived, leaving behind a sob story and a name Mr. Donovan never forgot. James Carter. He opened a rusted safe, dropping the ring inside beside a faded photo of his own family, a wife and daughter he'd failed long ago. One day, he muttered, though he wasn't sure if the promise was to Clara, to James, or to the ghosts in the picture. Outside, the wind howled, burying footprints under fresh snow. The fever came in the dead of winter. Ellie's cough rattled like pennies in a tin can, her skin burning as Clara pressed a damp cloth to her forehead. The eviction notice loomed on the fridge, its bold red letters screaming final warning, but Clara's $450 had vanished into a week of antibiotics, canned soup, and a space heater that sputtered like a dying engine. Now, she sat on the floor of their one-room apartment, counting coins for the bus to the free clinic, while Liam traced the words of James's old love letters on the wall. "Always find you," he whispered, as if it were a spell. "Stay with her," Clara told him, kissing Ellie's clammy cheek. "I'll be back by noon." But the bus never came. Snowdrifts buried the streets, and Clara's boots sank into the ice as she trudged past shuttered storefronts. When she reached the pawnshop, desperation clawed at her ribs. "Maybe he'll take my coat," she thought, though it was threadbare and stank of mothballs. The bell jingled, and Mr. Donovan looked up, his eyes narrowing at her hollow face. "I need cash," she blurted. "Anything." "My phone, my—" "Sit," he interrupted, gesturing to a stool. He slid a mug of bitter coffee toward her, his voice gruff but softer. "Your girl sick?" Clara nodded, tears spilling as she confessed. The fever, the eviction, the nights scrubbing office floors only to come home to Liam's hollow-eyed silence. Mr. Donovan listened, his calloused fingers drumming the counter. Then, without a word, he vanished into the back room. When he returned, he dropped a wad of cash beside her mug. "Take it." I can't repay this," she stammered. "Not a loan," he said, jaw tight. "A debt." Before she could ask, he flipped open a ledger, revealing the yellowed newspaper clipping, "Local man accused in theft scandal." The photo showed a younger James, bruised and defiant, being shoved into a police car. "Your husband didn't abandon you," Mr. Donovan said. "He came here, years back, tried to sell your ring. Said he'd stolen it to pay off hospital debts after his accident. Cops were after him, so he ran. Told me if he ever got clear, he'd come back for it. He tapped the safe where the ring lay." "Never did." Clara's breath hitched. "You knew him. Knew this ring was mine." "I kept it," he admitted, guilt roughening his voice. "Figured he'd come back. But then you walked in," he shoved the cash closer. "Take it. For the kids." 3 states away, James Carter stared at the auction catalog, his finger trembling over Lot 42, platinum wedding band, vintage engraving, forever yours. The photo was grainy, but he'd recognized that ring in the dark. It had haunted him through every back-alley job, every sleepless night wondering if Clara had forgiven him, if she'd even survived. "You sure about this?" His business partner, Marcus, frowned. "Bidding starts at $2 million. You could buy a house." "It's hers," James said, his voice raw. After a decade of hustling, construction gigs, then flipping foreclosed properties, he'd clawed his way into wealth. But no amount of money could erase the image of Clara's face the night he'd left, or the way she'd whispered, "Don't go," as the monitors beeped beside his hospital bed. He'd sent letters, once he'd gotten clean, but they'd all been marked return to sender. Now, the ring was his only tether to her. "I'm bringing it home," he told Marcus. Back in the pawn shop, Clara clutched the cash, her mind reeling. "Why tell me this now?" Mr. Donovan hesitated, then pulled the faded photo from his safe, a woman and a girl, both smiling in a sunlit kitchen. "My wife left because I chose greed over them. Let a man's life burn to save my own skin." He nodded at the ring. "Nod again." He handed her a slip of paper with an address. "James sent letters here once. Might be worth a visit." Clara's heart stalled. "He's alive." But outside, sirens wailed. The landlord's truck idled at her apartment, belongings tossed into the snow. Liam stood clutching Ellie, their small frames silhouetted against the storm. Clara ran, the address crumpling in her fist, James's face flashing in her mind, not as the man who'd left, but as the boy who'd vowed, forever. Some promises, she realized, couldn't be buried. The auction house buzzed with the clink of champagne flutes and the low hum of wealthy patrons eyeing Lot 42. James stood at the back, his tailored suit itching like a lie. On the screen above, the ring glowed under spotlights, its engravement crisp, "Forever yours." The bidding climbed, $2 million, $2.50, $3, until his voice cut through the room. $5 million. Silence fell. The gavel slammed. "Sold to Mr. Carter." Camera flashes erupted as James slipped the ring into his pocket, its weight both a relief and a condemnation. Reporters swarmed. Why pay millions for a simple ring? He almost said, because it's not a ring, it's a life. Instead, he muttered, sentimental value, and fled to his car, where Marcus waited. You're insane, Marcus said, but James was already dialing the number Mr. Donovan had texted him hours earlier, the address of a shelter on the outskirts of the city. Clara Carter, he'd written. She's waiting. Clara hadn't slept in days. The shelter reeked of bleach and hopelessness, its thin blankets doing little to warm Ellie's still weak body. Liam had stopped speaking, his silence a blade in her chest. When the shelter's landline rang, the manager called her name. Hello? Clara's voice trembled. Clara. Her knees buckled. James. Older, wearier, but undeniably him. 12 years dissolved in a single breath. I'm sorry, he said, the words frayed. I'm so damn sorry. Can I see you? The children watched her, wide-eyed, as she whispered, yes. Mr. Donovan stood in his pawnshop, packing the last of his belongings into a cardboard box. The safe hung open, empty except for the photo of his wife and daughter. He'd sold the ring to the auction house for a fraction of its worth, demanding only one condition: tell the buyer it belonged to Clara Carter. He'd failed his own family. But maybe, just maybe, he'd helped mend another. The bell jingled. Clara stood in the doorway, her children beside her, James hovering behind, a ghost in a cashmere coat. Thank you, she said softly. Mr. Donovan nodded, throat tight. Don't waste it, he muttered, then handed Liam a lollipop from the counter. Take care of your mama, kid. The diner was quiet, the vinyl booth creaking as James slid the ring toward Clara. It's yours, he said. Always was. She stared at it, the diamond scattering rainbows over her chapped hands. You left. I thought I'd die, he said, voice breaking. The crash, the debt. I didn't want you to watch me drown. But I should have stayed. Should have fought with you, not for you. Clara's tears fell freely now. Ellie leaned into her side, studying James with her father's eyes. Are you our dad? She asked. James's composure shattered. Yeah, he whispered. If you'll let me be. Liam reached across the table, touching the ring. What's it say? Clara traced the engravement. Forever yours. Does that mean he stays? Liam asked. James looked at Clara, every second of their lost years hanging between them. Only if she says so. The eviction notice was shredded, replaced by keys to a modest house with a garden and rooms that echoed with laughter. James spent days on the floor building Legos with Liam, nights reading to Ellie until her cough faded. Clara watched them, the ring back on her finger, its weight no longer a chain but a choice. At dusk, she found James on the porch, staring at the sunset. You don't have to fix everything, she said. I know, he replied. But I'd like to try. She took his hand, the ring catching the dying light. Forever yours wasn't a vow of perfection, she realized. It was a promise to keep showing up, even after the world ends. The pawnshop became a community center, its sign repainted by a man who'd learned redemption is a ladder, not a leap. Mr. Donovan's daughter found him there one autumn day, her own child in tow. They talked until the sun dipped below the skyline, his ledger of regrets finally balanced. And in a quiet house on the edge of the city, a family of 4 gathered around a table, their scars still tender but no longer bleeding. The ring gleamed in a glass case on the mantel, its inscription facing outward, a reminder that love, like hope, is a currency that never devalues. If you liked it, subscribe to the channel and enjoy these other amazing stories.